Hi, Misha.
Hi, Sandris.
Let's talk about your piece, Emotional Logic.
Okay, so let's start from from the beginning of how the whole project started. That was like the whole concept and idea came from singer Cvijović. Actually, she listened some concerts and some performances of me, and she was interested to work something together with me. And in the same time, she has also a long time plan to have also collaboration with Saffron Ensemble. So which I also had. So it somehow came everything in the same time, and she proposed this idea about emotions and musicians, and somehow we came together to some agreement to how to profilize this idea, because at first I was like kind of excited about this, but in a way that I was always thinking how we composers always focus so much about our ideas and don't think so much about the musicians' feelings and how they feel special in a contemporary music ensemble. But nevertheless, I wanted to have some certain focus on what kind of emotion I want to research and how we can do it. And this is not somehow superficial, just talk about emotions, because this is also kind of dangerous field. We can go everywhere in a different places with this. So anyhow, the start was quite good. We wrote the concept about this. City suggested to me. We talked with Saffron, and yeah, it was very nice that we got also money from different funds, and then our work started.
Who commissions the piece?
So the piece was commissioned basically by Saffron and Cvijović to me, and we got the fundings from Initiative Neue Musik, and we got also, that was funded also by ESMO von Siemens Musikstiftung. That was for presented at opening of the month of contemporary music in Berlin, which was very nice. That was the opening concert, and Emotional Logic was premiered there. And beside Emotional Logic was the pieces of Sarah Nemtsov and Fausto Romitelli. Mm-hmm. So it was quite nice, also.
It's company, right?
Yeah, sounds. It was very nice. I think the concert. Yeah, so actually the Emotional Logic basically started in March. We started to work on it in March 2020, basically when the lockdown started. So it was actually this piece, I think, had a little bit another idea at the beginning with this emotion, how to research and how to focus on how the energy and the relationship between the musician and one contemporary music ensemble works. But then when Corona came, that also kind of got a new level of the focus of actually how the emotions works in this extreme situation and how that had effect of the musicians in the ensemble. So we first started with these Zoom sessions. And that was actually quite interesting, because of course that it's pretty much tricky to ask each musician personally about their feelings in a different about different things. And we focused on the 6 basic emotions. It's which later developed into the movements of the whole cyclus. And the first emotion was fear, second disgust, third sadness, 4 anger, 5th joy, 5th surprise, and 6th joy. Yes. And so we tried to interview them, and of course we recorded now, like we are doing with interviews. So we actually had many interviews with the Saffron Ensemble, but first was independently, like we are doing today. And because we counted that, of course, nobody is so relaxed to talk about these personal things or how they feel and so on. But actually, during the Corona thing, we were quite surprised that musicians was quite open to reflect on how they feel, because everybody had a lot of need to reflect on the situation, about everything, and I think that most of musicians from Saffron Ensemble, they are coming from different countries, but mostly European Union, so they kind of have like very good productive life and intensive careers. So this kind of stop and questioning and fear and what's gonna come and how the music gonna continue, and the unpredictability to plan anything in future, that was quite interesting how they all reflect on it, and very different actually. So and that was the first phase of an interviews, and then after that we did the Zoom like a group, the whole ensemble, where they actually had the first situation that they talk after 1 month of the lockdown, that we all discuss about stuff. And for me, it was also interesting thing when we talk about emotion and some kind of personal things, that how the different we are when we meet in person and when we talk via Zoom or something, because our concentration is quite different, especially in those times, because people didn't use to Zoom too much. I mean, that was then time when we had to do it. Of course, it is good if we are not able to meet, but it's still completely different when you meet someone in person, and you have a different kind of possibilities to talk and to meet someone. However, then this video where we all meet together and discuss basically became afterwards one emotion for themselves.
Right.
Yes. So, and that was like after these 4 negative emotion, that the surprise emotion was actually this Zoom video that I, of course, combined, that I did electronics for it. And Vincent Stefan, who is a great video artist, I worked with him on this, and he made a video from all these Zoom interviews, but the group ones. So that was quite interesting to see how we are all behave actually, and how we reflect on it as a group.
Yes, but why you put only in these 6 emotions this video only for one emotion, right? For surprise. Yes. What was?
Yeah, because I somehow used for these previous 4 emotions, like for example, the fear was a duo. Was for the voice and the Prophet analog synthesizer. Then the second emotion was disgust. It was for trio, for violin, cello, and voice.
Yes.
Third was sadness for a quintet, and anger were for full ensemble sound. So I somehow positioned that all these 4 negative, let's say, emotions are fully acoustically done, except of course the first, because it was electronic. But then after that, I thought that after anger, we have so much different emotions, then they need somehow to relieve somewhere. And I thought that after this, as a 5th emotion, like a surprise would be good, kind of to accumulate all this musical thought into now reflection in the video about the Saffron musicians. So that's why I put it like as a video musical composition. So that video is not function of like just a media that it's goes with the music, but really explains their needs for themselves. So the video is really composition for itself. And after that, of course, the surprise, the video, was connected directly to the joy, the last piece. That for me, for this also research and for this composition was very important, that I have structured piece and structured improvisation into the last piece.
So the 6th one, the 6th part, right, was improvisational part.
Yes, so I had fixed electronics, so that was completely composed and notated. and but with a reflection on the surprise and video, because the video somehow ending with the beginning of the joy, so they are kind of attacca connected.
Yes.
So that the joy reflects on the all words that they said, that the discussion that we had in a surprise, that actually what make us the most happy, it's actually to play together. It's this reflection. This is in those times that all musicians had a fear or have felt very empty and stressed because they don't play, and or they have just possibility to have an online concert, which
Yes.
nobody was really
Yes.
extremely happy about this. Yeah. So
Yes.
this was exactly when the premiere happened. That was the first, basically the first concert that Saffron had. I think maybe they have one before, 2 days before something, but definitely that was after 6 months, the first big concert that they had, and they played together. So I thought after, until the last piece, the whole piece, I think the last 45 minutes, so they already play half an hour. And the last piece we actually practiced just 2 times. I didn't let them I didn't want that they practice too much. They had the all written parameters from
Yes.
the pieces before. So basically the improvisation was not free fully, but they were organized in a way that
Yes.
that we used material from the previous emotions, from the previous movements,
Yes.
and we integrate into completely something else that they have to reflect to, so that they not practice too much the last piece, but they reflect, because the electronic was fixed, so they have steady
And
ground.
who participated in this improvisational part? All ensemble, or?
Yes, whole ensemble. But
and what is a central message, right, of the piece, or maybe there is not, right? Or
yeah, I think that there is many messages. I thought like that there is also still many questions and many that answers that I got, and many that are still not answered, because it's so interesting. Was a really interesting moment what happened to all of us, and for me was big inspiration to write this piece. Also important thing was about the voice, and how I treated the voice in the whole piece. So it was basically all instrument and voice was in every piece presented. But
yes.
At the beginning, I thought that from all these interviews, I will maybe find a way to make a libretto of it, and to use the words of so that the singer. And then I understood like that this is not so much thrilling idea, because then we have to explain emotion for ourselves, which I didn't find so thrilling. And I thought it would be much interesting that in each emotion, voice is actually emotion, and voice is instrument, one more instrument, and that voice fully change in every emotion, so that it's completely technical. Needs are completely different, so which of course for a singer was not the easiest thing, because she has to really change posture of the voice very fast in every emotion.
Got it. And why emotional logic? Why is this title?
That's actually the emotional logic, the title. Silje Wiese made, because she came already with this concept, and then we adjusted together in this Corona situation, that we wanted to focus on this emotional roller coaster that happened in those times. So it is not so bright about emotions, but really like what happened with our emotion in those periods. And then you understand that everybody had all 6 emotions every day in a different, of course, percentage when what, but definitely when I interview, everybody had this emotion, and some of them was more relaxed because they had more time that they normally doesn't have. And some people were also very scared about the future, about how their life they're going to change and so on. But the title came basically from Syria, and yeah, it was maybe based on because it's actually makes no sense. Emotion shouldn't have a logic, but but sometimes we have to organize our emotions into the logic to somehow to follow the world that we are living. But I think it's makes no sense to when we put emotion and logic many times, it doesn't go together. Yes, but maybe in the time that we are living, we have too many time put our logic in front of our emotions, which many times works against us. But this is some other topics. But I think this is also kind of the rhythm of the piece, and it was really inspiring for me to think about all these things. And during my time of composing, was really affected me by these interviews and what I found it out from the musicians.
Yes. And what was like sensorial, right, experience for listener, right? What you want to build for them?
What is one more time?
The sensorial experience, right? What kind of impact through that dramaturgy you mean to build for me as a listener, right?
Yes, I think it's actually probably it's the listener has to tell for them on how they felt, because I think it was also very different how people felt and how they experienced the piece. But yeah, I think for me I was really very focused on how I gonna present this experience with ensemble. So I think, and I tried to reflect a different level of also orchestrationally, also sound wise, yes, also how the especially how the voice changes in every piece.
Yes.
And I tried somehow to reflect with voice the mostly, and how the shape of the instrumentation in every motion also change and impact of the voice.
Yes, right. I noticed that at the beginning, right, it started with you playing and only solo, and then gradually part by part increasing the participants, right?
Yes, exactly.
Why so? What was the idea behind this dramaturgy that more and more participants increases gradually?
Yes, maybe because this is how we started also with interviews that I had first with Syria, me and Syria. That was the beginning.
Yes.
And then we get the two more players. That was Marty and then the next was a quintet. And the seventh was the fourth emotion was all 7 people. So I think somehow I built it up on the interviews how I did it. So
got it.
And then that goes like also not only sound wise, but also by instrumentation. That all leads to because anger, it is culmination and the strongest emotion that we all experience. That leads to the surprise and the group interviews. That's because that was the next phase. So I somehow structured in a way how we did interviews.
And right, these are 6 parts, right?
Exactly.
And how you decide with which part to start, and what is like dramaturgy logic of that? Because if you would like, right, you can start with joy, or you can start with surprise, but you started with fear. And what was the idea of order, right?
Well, this is a good question. I think that the fear was the first emotion that everybody had from this Corona started in this moment. I think that everybody had this feeling of fear, and that was really present with and trust me, with every musician that I spoke with.
Yes.
First of like not knowing what is the next, and because now we are after 2 years, we are now through, and still I think that after we had the premiere and the concert, there was also interview that Deutschlandfunk did with all of us, and at the end of the interviews after the concert, then they asked musician, okay, you did this project and how you feel about this like now, like, and they were all, oh, it was really stressful and everything, but finally everything came back to normal. finally that's over. And then came this even bigger lockdown from October. So it was that nobody were still realizing this is something that is gonna stay, and we have to adapt our lives to it. And what's happening actually now. I mean, things gonna stay, but we have to learn how we're gonna live with this. So I think this first emotion was fear. Definitely, how all musicians was reflecting that they were quite fearful about the future. Then I would actually like to provide you also, maybe now it's too long to read this text that we did, but it was basically before each of emotion, we had a voiceover that Syria read. I made the 4 texts from the interviews that I did with all of them. And it was really nice because then before each composition, we had the voiceover of the Saffron thoughts from the interviews we did about fear, about disgust, about sadness, about anger. And I think fear was connected to, of course, unpredictability of the future. Disgust was basically, I think this Miguel had very, very nice text, very nice thoughts about media, actually, how the media is jumping out everywhere from our computer, from phone, and how we are so full of bad information, and that's also affects us on an everyday level, how we should think and what should we believe today. And also that media make big division between the people, which is something that's happening now again and again with the different things in the world that are happening. But it's this was, I think, connected to the disgust emotion. And the sadness was connected to missing many family and friends that people couldn't see, people couldn't travel. People was quite lonely, actually, and that was maybe the most vulnerable thing that everybody showed and wanted to reflect on it. That without, because it was everything was gone with the concerts, and I think people had much more time to think about what they need. And the 4th emotion, anger, of course, was about politics. I think that everybody reflects because everybody coming from a different country. So it was also very interesting to hear how many of them was quite disappointed about political situation in the world and how that affect us extremely. And that all these things at the end brings the war, and how we handle this, all of us, and what is our attitude to it. Of course, that everybody has a different experience also with this, but that is something that has to be important for all of us, not that we think that's happening somewhere else and we are fine, but when that comes closer to us, that we really have to take care of each other and to talk about these things and be especially as artists, that our job and our important role is to reflect on the time that we are living in, and also with our music and why we are composing, writing, performing. This is something that we reflect on the time that we are living in, and I think this all changes that happen to us reflects on our music also. This is so that's maybe this is the first piece of mine that had really strong concept behind, because I was not so much, I didn't have so much conceptual works, let's say, but this was I don't know, I was really deeply interested to define all these topics and in this really important moment of the world.
Yes, but I would say it's not only like conceptual, but it's research based, right? So actually what you do, as I understand, you interview performers, musicians, right?
exactly, from the one ensemble that works together.
Also, I feel, and particularly very important, right, moment in our history at the beginning, and at the beginning of pandemic and of involvement, right, of pandemic, right, to go to various cycles. How long, and when you start interviews, and how long was the interviews, and how many times you interviewed, and how you structure all this research part?
Yeah, that was actually for me also first time that I'm doing something like this, because I'm not your professional interviewers with us, and for me was actually completely something new. I'm not a prof interviewer person, so it's I'm a composer who want to ask the question to my colleague musicians that I work with. And then I try with Syria together. We did these interviews together, and then we started with the questions about this basic emotion. But then each time we tried to certain to different person to structure and ask them a little bit different question, because then after first interview already we could expect a little bit better what is Miguel or Daniel, and how they are, also their personality types are. So then we could then in every next interview more focus on more specific things. Which means that every interview is coming somehow brought us more closely to them, because some of them was very open from the beginning. It's like, hey, I want to reflect, I want to talk, because people didn't have a chance anymore to meet so often. People were kind of depressed or in a different mood, in a strange mood. So that's why I was really impressed that they really wanted to talk. But also there was two, three of them who was also the beginning a little bit.
Yes. And do you remember how many this interview cycles were?
So the first let's say the first part was about the personality test and how they are, and some general question about emotions and the reflection, which was of course somehow at first not gave too much these specific things that came later, because in the second part of the interviews was more concrete question about the emotion, and they also now knew more about the project, so they were much more relaxed to refer on and to reflect on their emotions. So there was like first group of interviews, second, and then the third was this group interview where everybody was there. That's actually then afterwards was I think that we had, I don't know, something 15 hours of interviews all in all. And then Vincent made a musical video, and there was basically video composition.
Yes, and right, you did a lot of research work, right? And how you transform, or how you use these inputs to your musical composition? What was, right? You started with research. You interviewed several times musicians, and how this information turned into composition, right?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because I first time did something like this in a way that normally composer is quite lonely with their own thoughts and in the music, and in this period I had to parallel compose and to research and interview them, which was like one extra job that normally as a composer you don't talk too much about with a musician about process of composing while this composing process happening. But I think that that all information from the beginning that I got affects my writing, and also to understand, especially how I started actually first with voice and with the idea of each emotion, what kind of sound I want, how I want this voice to be changed, and in which way. And I think that then the voice was a core of, and the sound of the voice was the starting point for me. And then I build it up step by step up. You disappeared. Sorry.
No, I'm here.
Ah, okay. So basically, these ideas of and a concept of the sound for each emotion and for the voice, I then transforming each emotion with a different ensemble setup, and I try to then orchestrationally also to provide it in different instruments.
Mm-hmm. Can you give one example?
Yeah, for example, the interesting I think was also quite with the disgust, because I actually practiced by myself a lot, because it was quite the voice was and the producing of this sound of disgust was like quite deep here in this part. It was at all not impossible for the opera singer. So I think me or anybody else who is not singer can make it much better, because we can relax our voice and try to really structure, like it was sounded like electronics basically, and also somehow rough but also very minimalistic, and also the phrasing was very important, and somehow the cello and violin was also reflecting on this sound, and basically it's built up as a canon. It was really contrapunct all the time with this specific sound.
Got it. And what was the process of composition, right? You started with interviews. What next? What was the next stage? And
you mean for while I was composing, or like my
all the process, right? You have idea, then as I understand, you have idea, you have a concept, then you go to interviews. Okay, you finish this research phase. What stages was after, right? Did you start already writing, or
yes. I started immediately to write, because we basically had I think it was in March when we found out that we got the fundings, and that was like, okay, we have a fundings, we can do the project. So basically I started immediately to write, also parallel with interviews.
Yes.
Because I had basically just not so much 4 or 5 months to write it, because the premiere was end of August. Yeah, so for me it was quite intensive isolation process also, like it was all this isolation months during the corona. I was quite from the morning till the evening busy and composing and doing the interviews, so it was quite active isolation time for me. But
and what kind of software was used, right, in video? Do you know what kind of software you use, or I understand video artists use, right? So you didn't create it as a video, it was created by video artists, right?
Exactly. So we worked on this. So he prepared, I gave to him all Zoom interviews. So then he came with idea. I mean, I wanted to invite Vincent, because he's really, I respect enormously his work, and his how he see the world, and how he work with the, with the humans. And also, yeah, I was really happy to work with him, and he delivered ideas, and he present how he see and how he could make the composition of it. And of course I delivered the sound and electronics that was connected to the Joy afterwards for these fixed electronics that I had. So basically we communicate about this piece, and let's say this surprise piece is a composition of both of us. In a way, his composition was video composition, one was sound electronics, and also how we work with this together.
Yes, I have a question, right? Because when I saw the video, right, there was a video directly from interviews, right, with different effects put it on, but there was screens as well where were not like there were some kind of bugs. I saw a lot of bugs, right? Why bugs? Why is that?
Yeah, well, that you have to probably talk with Vincent, because he will explain more about his concept of this. It was just his, I don't know, he has a idea behind this, but I think that would be better that you talk with him about this.
Got it. And electronics, how was written on what, on which software was written electronical part?
Well, I did all electronics basically in Ableton, and Ableton I work a lot, use a lot for electronics, and yeah, Max for Live. So I adapted these both things together there.
Do you think could this piece could work without video as well?
You mean that we don't have this fifth emotion? It goes directly to joy. Yeah, yes. I think it can work definitely. Also, I mean, I was thinking actually about this because when I thought we could perform it somehow again. Of course, these interviews as a video is very connected to the Saffron and to the project we did together. But of course, if we move the video, this could be also, all these pieces could be also performed as concept pieces independently. And also I did it actually now for with Anger, with the very young ensemble, Katza ensemble from Berlin. And I wrote the new version for them with a trumpet instead of the voice. So, and this is that can exist also on the repertoire, apart from the whole cyclus emotion logic.
And could your idea, right? If, let's say, viewer or listener in the concert wouldn't see the fifth part, right? This video, could he or she perceive the piece similarly, or it's fundamentally to see this fifth part in order to understand the piece?
Well, that's a good question, but yeah, I think this is also something that that the audience should. We could do the research if they would understand the same, or how they would perceive the things, if they gonna take it very different or not. Because it's actually hard for me now to see it, because I was really deep into it, in the whole concept, how the structure was working. But I think it's with this text, if we have the voiceover also during the, actually I think in the video that you're gonna post that I have, there are no these voiceovers that was in a concert, because we agreed that in the concert venue was important, was very nice as a guidance, like a short voiceover that was, I think, 45 seconds or 1 minute, and then start the next piece. So it was kind of every next piece had a small information about the work. And of course, in this video that we have now online, there are no these texts, but I can deliver it to you in case you want to put maybe in a text down so people can read it.
Yes, it would be interesting. Yes, of course. Yes, I can put at least, I can write this text for first piece, second piece, etc.
Yeah, but a little bit explain, because that was actually why I mentioned it now. Because for each, for the first 4 emotions, there are the small text about this that came from Saffron.
From interviews, right?
That came from interviews, but of course I wrote always at the end, like this, Saffron, from the interviews from Saffron Ensemble. I didn't mention who said it, or it was over there.
That's understandable.
And then on the 5th, when the video parts started, there was no text anymore, because I thought, like, for this emotion where no text, we needed kind of small interlude for each piece. But for the video, there is no need anymore, because they talk now. Before they couldn't express them, and it was expressed into the music. Now they are more active and they talk about this. And the last piece, it's then about joy of playing together, and it's not anybody. We can react on each other. We can play together, and that was the point. And my main need and goal to somehow to all these interviews and reflecting of how the importance of emotion of the musician in one ensemble of contemporary, it's important, and how we also need to know more about their feelings and how they work together. So this is something that for me was quite interesting, inspiring to do.
Got it. And could you imagine the fifth part, right? Standalone.
Okay, yeah, that if we put just the fifth part, of course, that yeah, I think the four pieces.
I mean, the video, right? Okay,
yeah.
Okay, the video with electronics, right?
Yeah. I'm thinking of it. I think that that I can more imagine if you compare, because you asked first without video, I could imagine more these 5 parts without video as a that nobody would be maybe so much bother if there is no video, because we have the text and we have a concertant piece without some subtitle or but video for themselves, I think would be not so much clear. I think that you will need to get some information before, because if I just see the video, it could be like, oh, it's interesting, it's there is something that I don't understand, or obviously they talk about the corona, it's something that's happening with their thoughts and how they talk what they say. Also, I think that when Miguel says also like, I would like to be a musician, I don't want to change my profession, and how the importance of this moment is that we want to maintain musician and artists in this world. And but still, I think the video for itself without all music around would need a little bit then more explanation about what we're talking about, even if you can, I guess, what it's about, but then it will not be enough, I think, for me.
Got it. And you said that, right, that you start interviews with musicians. So musicians impacted the work a lot, at least let's say conceptual part. But how was interaction in creation of musical part, right? Do they involve a lot, or was their input significant?
I think that their input in a musical part was the most present in the last piece. So where we had this structure improvisation, because before it was fully everything notated, and I had as a composer full control of everything what I wrote.
Yes.
And then because I'm a pianist by myself, and before I started to be a composer, I was a pianist, and of course I have this perspective completely, and I perceive the music from an opposite side. And now as a composer, I understand also and respect how a musician feels, and I wanted to kind of give them a chance that in one very organized and very planned composition, they have a space to be more free, even if they had, of course, the material was not like play whatever. They had, because I also think about this, and I think also in one of the interviews I asked everybody of them what they think about improvisation and music, or what is their opinion, and do they do that? And it was also very different. Some of them said, I think Daniel, was the percussionist, he's quite good improviser and he liked it. And that's why I think he gave me a big reason to write this big solo on a big percussion set in anger, because he was really this anger then at the end. But it was everything. This solo was completely written, but the way of how he expressed it was very, very soloistic and very free. And for example, Liam, the flutist, he said, like, no, it's for me very interesting, but I'm not into improvisation. And then I understood, yeah, I mean, if I want to get them to, at the end of the piece, to really reflect and play, I would not push anybody to do it just because I said so, because then I will not get the effect that I want. And for me, it was important that they really feel and then really reflect and listen to each other. So that it's the same process when we practice some composition that is fully and precisely written. Then after half an hour of music, they are already very deep into the music, and at the end they really can, with the material that they have. So they had each of them 2-3 elements with what they should play, but completely free, and that they every time have a different performance. And that for me was challenging, and it was big. I also was thinking, shall I change that the joys come before surprise or before, because, and it was like, no, I don't want to be afraid of it. The last piece is actually half improvised, because of course you never know how it's gonna sound. If you want, yes, for the last piece, like the finale of the piece, yes, that you don't have a control.
Yes.
And as a
what were the rules, right? You set the rules for improvisation. What was there? What are the rules?
So I use basically from all these 4 emotions, from fear, disgust, sadness, and anger. From all this emotion, I use the musical material, and I transformed into something else in joy. So basically, the material was already well known for them. So it's not something like just play whatever, because I knew that they're all not ensemble who are playing improvisation. They are also through the interviews, and I want to respect that. I don't want to push them into something that they are not feeling well. But yes, in the same time, if I give you a freedom, then I want to give you space to walk how you feel in this particular moment, and not to practice, because this is actually about emotional logic. We want to really control our mind and our emotions. And in the improvisational part, I wanted that they really reflect and play and trust each other, which was at the end like the meaning of the whole piece. It's about the whole this crisis, how much we need live playing, not live streaming, but how we need as a humans each other, and also how that important is for the music, that we cannot just live like with the live streaming. We want to perform live, and that's the necessity of the artist to reflect. And that was kind of my present to all of them. That they, because normally as a composer you're a control freak, and you want to have everything performed how you wrote, and to not leave anything by the chance. And that was in the same time my risk, my inspiration, my fear, my excitement about how the last piece is gonna sound.
Yes, got it. And the last question: what was the 3 main learnings, right, through that piece, and particularly employing this research-based strategy?
Sorry, the first I didn't hear what you asked for the first.
What are the 3 main learnings for you, right? What you learn?
What I learned, okay. Well, I learned a lot actually. I learned from them, from the musicians, a lot about their characters. I learned how they're because I think they are together already 10 years, how the one group of people who play special and contemporary ensemble musician, this is also like a family, like a big family who is has their phases, and how their group dynamic is quite different, how they are quite different, but they still managed to maintain together and to perform many different compositions. And I think knowing to it and taking care of the musicians who play our music, for all as composers, it's we need to be interested in them, because they analyze our music, and they will better also understand how to play our music if they know us better. So that I think this kind of contact, it's, for me at least, very important. And I think that this was very important, very good experience for me. And I think that in every next project, not maybe like this, because this was really so close, but I probably will not have a chance with every ensemble to work so close.
Yes.
But I guess that my intention would be also, if I do for some next bigger project like this with some other ensemble or with Saffrons, I definitely would like to spend some time also with them, because I think I'm quite interested in also experience of the musician, because I think that affects me a lot as a composer also.
Okay,
who they are also as a humans. Yes. Not only as a musician who are playing my piece, and I don't care about who they are. I'm really important, for me, somehow important to get to know them better.
So thank you very much, Misha.
What?
Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you very much for interest in my music, and in particular in this piece. And yeah, of course, I hope that this piece was 2 years ago presented. That now there are coming new pieces, and I had also now very nice premiere in Harris of Sound in the radial system. And yeah, I hope that we have some next opportunity to talk about these very new pieces of mine.
Of course, Misha.
Thank you.
Thank you.